#1 talk show in daytime. Dr. Phil is next.
All new today. It's one of the biggest unsolved murders of the century.
6-year-old JonBenet Ramsey was found murdered in her home.
She'd been battered, strangled, and sexually abused.
Immediately, suspicion fell on the family, but the parents and son Burke always proclaimed their innocence.
The night that your sister JonBenet was killed, there were only 3 people in that house that we know the identity of. You're the one that has never spoken.
JonBenet's brother, Burke Ramsey, finally breaks his silence.
This Christmas is the 20-year anniversary.
The killer has never been found.
Some people have speculated that you've been hiding out for this last 20 years. What do you say to that? Do you remember the last time you saw JonBenet alive?
JonBenet Ramsey's skull was fractured on the right side of her head.
Did you hit your sister over the head with a baseball bat or a flashlight? Had you ever violently attacked her before? Did you murder your sister, JonBenet?
The exclusive interview, 20 years in the making. Now, from Boulder, Colorado, it's the season premiere of Dr. Phil.
For 2 decades, the unsolved murder of 6-year-old JonBenet Ramsey has remained one of the most mysterious cold cases in history. The child beauty queen's body was found the day after Christmas in 1996, here in the basement of her family's 15-room mansion in Boulder, Colorado. Today, the home is surrounded by an iron fence and hidden by trees. It even has a new address. But nothing can erase the haunting image of the path decorated with candy canes for Christmas, dusted with snow, surrounded by police tape.
911 emergency. Police, what's going on by 515th Street?
To those of you who may want to ask, let me address it very directly. I did not kill my daughter, JonBenet.
We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please. Explain to me what's going on, okay?
Let me assure you that I did not kill JonBenet.
Okay, what's your name? Are you Happy Ramsey? I'm the mother. Oh my God! Please.
I did not have anything to do with it. I love that child with my whole of my heart and soul.
It's the mysterious murder case of an American sweetheart who's responsible for the death of little JonBenet.
In the 35 years I've been doing this, I've never seen a case like the unsolved murder of JonBenet Ramsey.
If you look at the Ramsey case, this went far beyond what you would expect. There were more mistakes made in this case than any other case I've ever seen.
I believe that when the case first started, that it didn't look like the Ramseys did this.
Within a week, it was clear that the Boulder Police Department had made up its mind. It was someone in the household. Game, set, match.
John Ramsey and his wife had been under this cloud of suspicion ever since then.
When a child is murdered, police have learned to look first at family members. Bizarre circumstances and unexplained evidence caused police to immediately focus their investigation on the Ramsey family. In the 20 years since this innocent child was so tragically murdered, every angle, every shred of evidence has been evaluated and reevaluated, except one. There has been one critically important missing link. JonBenet's older brother, Burke Ramsey. Burke Ramsey was the only other person known to be in the house the night his sister was murdered, and he has never spoken publicly. He has never answered questions about what happened in this house the night his sister was murdered, until today.
Christmas Day, 1996, the Ramsey family had spent the evening at a holiday party. Patsy helped tuck 6-year-old JonBenet into bed. That may have been the last time they saw their daughter alive. 5:30 a.m. the next morning. Patsy woke up early because the family was planning to leave town on vacation. She walked down the back stairs from her third-floor bedroom in their 15-room Tudor-style home in Boulder, Colorado.
And she went down the spiral staircase, and 3/4 of the way through the spiral staircase, she saw papers on the floor and started to read them.
The ransom note. Patsy skimmed the words. "We've kidnapped your daughter. Don't call the police or we'll kill her. Get $118,000.
Patsy was by the phone, so I said, call the police.
What's going on there, ma'am? We were kidnapped. Hurry, please.
About 20 minutes later, police arrived, followed by the FBI. For the next 6 hours, the Ramseys waited for the kidnapper's promised call. 2 different searches of the house turned up nothing.
It was a Boulder police officer, Linda Arndt, who told John to go with his friend Fleet White and search the house one more time.
They get to the basement. They go down the hallway towards the wine cellar, and he hits the light switch, and he immediately sees his daughter wrapped in the blanket laying on the floor. He notices her hands are tied. There was a piece of duct tape across JonBenet's mouth. He sees a garrote around the neck. This was not a kidnapping. This was a murder.
You have a 2.5-page ransom note, a strangulation, sexual abuse. It just doesn't happen this way.
Strange story in Colorado where a 6-year-old girl thought to be a kidnap victim has been found dead.
The child beauty queen was found in the basement of her family's home the day after Christmas.
It's also reported the girl was strangled with a noose-like cord and her mouth taped, and there were no signs of a break-in.
JonBenet Ramsey's skull was fractured on the right side of her head.
She'd been battered, strangled, and sexually abused.
There was no sign of forced entry, no footprints in the snow. The rope used to choke JonBenet was tightened with a paintbrush from her mother's hobby kit. An alleged ransom note was written on a pad of paper from inside the house.
The brutal killing of a pageant princess is raising troubling questions in many minds about child beauty contests.
I think the JonBenet Ramsey case would have stayed a local story if it wasn't for one element. And that was those pageant videos that were released within a few days after the tragedy. Those videos showed a certain amount of sexuality from a young child.
People try to make it seem ugly and something that it wasn't, and I just know how much fun it was. What a good time we had together.
There were some negative connotations to these images, you know, whether the child had been pushed too far and whether this was symptomatic of some end result that caused the death of the child.
For 2 weeks now in Boulder, Colorado, an American tragedy has been unfolding. Tonight, no new clues in the search for answers.
The setting for this murder was not typical. Very affluent, exclusive neighborhood, beautiful multi-million-dollar home. All of these things led many people to believe, well, there can't be a bad guy walking around a place like that. It must be the parents or her brother.
The evidence that points to the Ramseys, I think, is the fact that they were in the house at the time of the murder.
Immediately, suspicion fell on the family, but the parents and son Burke always proclaimed their innocence.
The list of suspects narrows. Soon, there will be no one on the list but you.
JonBenet Ramsey's parents hired attorneys shortly after their 6-year-old child was murdered and have communicated with police only through legal representatives.
It has been said that you and Patsy did not cooperate with the police, that you in fact obstructed this investigation.
Well, it's totally false. Police came to our home and we talked to them for, it seemed like hours. And they started this, well, we need you to come down to the police station. And now, by now we had media trucks out in front, and Patsy was in no condition to be moved. She was in bad shape.
As we've been reporting, police in Boulder, Colorado finally
have begun full-length interrogations of the little girl's parents.
I'm talking about scientific evidence.
I don't give a flying flip how scientific it is. Go back to the damn drawing board. I didn't do it.
They were still suspects in the eyes of the public and the police, who continued to focus almost exclusively on them, particularly Patsy.
The theory was that JonBenet was killed by Patsy over bedwetting, and that the garrote was constructed for some reason to make it look like it was a kidnap killing gone bad. That was all part of the staging.
The garrote had intricate, complex, even unusual knotting. Someone knew what they were doing.
There are several key people investigators would like to question. Tops on the list, John and Patsy Ramsey, as well as their son Burke.
Coming up, the interview 2 decades in the making. JonBenet's brother Burke breaks his silence.
You answer all the questions. You said I can ask you anything. Nothing is off limits. You speak about this one time.
Wednesday on an all-new Dr. Phil.
My daughter is out of control. 13 years old, extremely provocative.
Danielle vanished with the keys to my crew member's car.
With her family.
She's threatened you with knives.
She's defiant.
Stop it. Oh, who is you?
But has she met her match?
You want to do it again?
Sit down.
With Dr. Phil.
You can threaten them,
Good.
but I'm your worst nightmare, girl.
That's Wednesday. We now return to a Dr. Phil exclusive.
It's been nearly 20 years since 6-year-old JonBenet Ramsey was found dead in her parents' home. Her killer never brought to justice.
In the enduring mystery of JonBenet's murder, Burke Ramsey was the 9-year-old brother who, by all accounts, slept soundly in his room that Christmas of 1996, while his sister's skull was fractured and she was strangled nearby.
Her parents, John and Patsy, and 9-year-old brother Burke, were investigated but never charged.
So the question becomes, who? And the only other person in the house that night that we know of was Burke Ramsey.
So does JonBenet's brother Burke have some memory locked away that could unlock the case?
Some people said that you had gone to great lengths to distance Burke from the Boulder police investigation.
Not at all. I've heard rumors where, well, we were hiding Burke because he was this crazy kid. Well, that wasn't the case at all. Yes, we were hiding him from the media, but no, we didn't hide him from anybody. We protected him. We hid him. We were worried about his physical safety. I mean, we were under assault by the media and press and cameras and people we didn't know who they were. We just didn't want Burke recognized because he was growing up. He was not a 9-year-old boy anymore. He was an 11-year-old, 12-year-old who wanted to have a normal life.
Would you respect our privacy, please?
It's being reported that investigators want to interview JonBenet's brother, Burke. But why?
The experts say investigators want to re-interview Burke in the hope that he can help them piece together some new information.
Detectives want to talk to JonBenet's 23-year-old brother, Burke, who was 9 at the time of the murder.
Many people bandied about the theory that Burke himself could be responsible for the murder.
As recently as 2010, investigators wanted to interview Burke Ramsey again. Burke did not speak to them. Why, 14 years after JonBenet's death, did detectives still want to talk to him? Today, Burke breaks his 20-year silence and finally tells us what he knows about those tragic events. This was a no-holds-barred interview. Nothing was off limits. He agreed to answer any and all questions and to do so without a lawyer present. The night that your sister JonBenet was killed, there were 3 people in that house that we know the identity of, and you're one of those 3, you, your mother, and your father. But in the 20 years that have gone by, you're the one that has never spoken. You've never talked about this publicly, and you've decided to do so now. My question for you is why now and why here?
For a long time, the media basically made our lives crazy. I mean, it's hard to miss the cameras and news trucks in your front yard, and we'd go to the supermarket sometimes, and there'd be a tabloid, you know, with my picture, JonBenet's picture, plastered on the front. They would follow us around. Seeing that as a little kid, just kind of chaotic nightmare. So I was pretty skeptical of like any sort of media. Like, it just made me a very private person. As to why I'm doing it now, it's the 20th anniversary, and there's apparently still a lot of attention around it.
Well, my goal here is that you answer all the questions. You said I can ask you anything. Nothing is off limits. You speak about this one time. Some people have speculated that your parents weren't protecting you, they were hiding you.
Yeah.
And that for this last 20 years, that you've been hiding out instead of just choosing not to speak. What do you say to that?
For the last 20 years, I wanted to grow up like a normal kid, which does not include like going in front of TV cameras.
But if you had answered the curiosity, might that have stopped it all?
To me, it seemed like it would rouse it all up again.
I want to ask you some tough questions, but first, let's turn the hands of time back a little bit. When you look back, was Christmas like a really big deal at your house?
Yeah. Decorations in the yard, on the inside. My parents would throw a party every year.
Hello, I'm Patsy Ramsey. Daddy's not here, but this is JonBenet. She's 4, Burke is 7, and we'd like to welcome you to our home and wish you a very Merry Christmas.
Now, 2 days before JonBenet was murdered, that was when the party was at your house, right?
Yeah.
And you had people tour the house?
I think there was like a Boulder home tour thing. Like, we weren't the only people that did it.
Right, they went house to house.
Yeah.
And looked at all the decorations. So when do you guys open gifts? That Christmas Eve or Christmas morning?
Christmas morning.
Do you remember what you did that morning?
I remember peeking down, and I remember seeing like an electric train and a bike, and I was super excited.
Was JonBenet with you?
Yeah.
Did she peek too?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Did you get what you had asked for that year?
Nintendo 64.
And what did JonBenet get?
I think she got a big dollhouse. We both got bikes.
It was a typical Christmas morning. A lot of neighbor kids came over after a while, and they were in and out of the house, but just a nice Christmas day.
JonBenet got a doll for Christmas, right?
Patsy had sent the doll company a picture of JonBenet, and they made a doll that supposedly looked like her. Patsy saw the doll lying in a box and kind of startled her.
What did she say?
She said it looked like JonBenet was in a coffin.
The highlight of the 25th was really a visit for dinner at Fleet and Priscilla White's home.
Fleet White was John Ramsey's best friend. Fleet White became a suspect and was interviewed 18 times by the authorities.
When you came home that night, JonBenet had fallen asleep on the ride home, so you carried her in.
I laid her on the bed, and then Patsy went up later and I think put her pajamas on and tucked her in.
Christmas night in the Ramsey house. JonBenet is tucked snugly into her bed, dreaming about her brand new bike. John and Patsy Ramsey are down the hall in their room, presumably fast asleep. Brother Burke is sleeping in his room.
Do you remember the last time you saw JonBenet alive?
Coming up.
After you went to bed that night, did you hear anything out of the ordinary at all during the night?
Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with Burke Ramsey continues.
Do you remember the last time you saw JonBenet alive?
I want to say it was in the car on the way back from the Whites.
I think this is the last picture that was ever taken of her alive.
I don't remember the hair being that long, but...
It's hard to believe that a short time later, she would be dead.
Yeah.
Where was your bedroom in relation to hers?
So it was like kind of around the corner, through the playroom, down the hall.
And this is your room?
Yep.
After you went to bed, did you hear anything out of the ordinary at all during the night?
No.
You don't recall waking up, hearing anything in retrospect?
No.
Melody Stanton, who lives diagonally across the street from the Ramseys, says she heard shrieks of agony coming from the Ramsey house 14 hours before JonBenet's body was found in the basement.
And she thought it came from a lower part of the house. So if that, in fact, is the child's scream, then the child's life was taken in the wee hours of the 26th of December.
The next morning, you were heading off for a vacation trip over the Christmas holidays, right?
We had reservations to go on a family cruise with my older children. We both got up. Patsy had gotten dressed. I was shaving.
The first thing I remember is waking up, getting dressed hurriedly, going downstairs.
We weren't going to wake the kids up until we were absolutely ready to go because they could stay in their pajamas and jump in the car.
Then I go down the spiral staircase, and there on one of the runs of the stair is the 3-page ransom note.
Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We have your daughter in our possession. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Chilling words from the JonBenet Ramsey ransom note, reportedly found by Patsy Ramsey on these stairs inside their home.
She came down these stairs and seen the ransom note on the bottom step.
And I ran back upstairs and pushed open her bedroom door, and she was gone.
I heard Patsy scream my name, and I knew something was seriously wrong.
Where did the scream come from?
It was either the first or second floor. Our bedroom was kind of up in an attic, and she had this ransom note.
It clearly said, you know, we have your daughter. It explained who they were. They wanted a certain amount of money. Don't call the police. We're watching you. If you do this, we're going to behead your daughter.
The note remains perhaps the most critical and perplexing piece of evidence in the ongoing murder investigation.
If you can, take me through that moment when she turns and hands you this ransom note.
It's hard to take it all in. As I recall, it was like, what? Your daughter's been taken, and it's a horrible, horrible feeling. I had that punch in the stomach feeling, and then I was trying to absorb what was said in this 3 pages of scribbling.
The ransom note threw everybody off. It was written on a notepad belonging to the Ramseys with one of their pens, and it took at least 15 minutes to write it. The ransom demand was for $118,000, which was exactly what John's Christmas bonus was.
Colorado newspapers are reporting that a practice ransom note was found, written on paper found in the Ramsey home.
So there's a lot of suspicion around the note. If somebody is going to kidnap somebody, by the way, you bring the ransom note already written. You don't write it inside the house.
I had it laid out on the floor because I was trying to, like, read it all at once. Patsy was by the phone, so I said, call the police.
911 emergency. Police. What's going on by 515th Street? What's going on there, ma'am? We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please.
By the time the first officer arrived at the scene, the house is filled with Patsy and John's friends. They called the Whites. They called Fernies. They called their pastor, the minister of their church. You know, the police made some very strategic mistakes. There may have been hair fibers from the perpetrator. There may have been footprints on the carpet. There may have been fingerprints. So now you have everybody going all over the house. You know, the whole place is like a little bit of like a train station by then.
The police come in a squad car.
All right.
Did that concern you? It says 2 men are watching your daughter. If you even talk to a stray dog,
no,
she's dead.
I would have called the Army if I could have.
But they pulled up in a police cruiser.
Well, they didn't know what was going on exactly, and so I don't fault them for that.
So you're okay at that point with what they're doing?
I want to get as much help as I can lay my hands on to find my child.
Do you remember waking up that morning?
Yep. The first thing I remember is my mom bursting in my room, really frantic, saying like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, running around my room looking for JonBenet. At that point, I was awake.
Why did you feel scared, you know, when Mom came rushing in?
I felt like something bad happened.
She left and could kind of hear her freaking out.
I heard Mom like going to the go.
Did you go down and see what was going on?
Stay in bed.
And the next thing I remember is a police officer coming to my room and shining a flashlight.
It was still dark when this happened.
Yeah, I was just laying there.
What time did she come in?
Early, I don't remember.
It had to be, it was still dark, so it had to be pretty early. Did she turn on the light when she came in?
I don't remember if she did or not.
How long after she came in before the police officer came in?
Under an hour.
So she comes in, and were you asleep when she came in? Did she wake you up?
She woke me up.
And she's running around your room saying, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. What else did she say? Did you know she was looking for JonBenet?
I remember her saying, where's my baby, where's my baby?
So after she left, what did you do?
I just laid there and didn't really know what else to do.
It seems really odd to me that you're 9 years old and your mother comes in the room in seemingly the middle of the night because it's dark and says, where's my baby, where's my baby? And then runs out of the room and you just lay there.
We now return to Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with Burke Ramsey.
It seems really odd to me that You're 9 years old, and your mother comes in the room in seemingly the middle of the night because it's dark and says, "Where's my baby? Where's my baby?" And then runs out of the room, and you just lay there, as opposed to getting up and going out and saying, "What's going on?" And then a police officer comes in your room, which I assume is the first time in your entire life that a police officer has come in your room with a flashlight, looking around, and you still just stay in bed.
To be fair, I didn't know it was a police officer. It's just kind of...
But somebody comes in your room with a flashlight, and you never get up and say, "What is going on here?"
I guess I kind of like to avoid conflict, and I don't know, I guess I just felt safer there.
Were you curious?
I'm not the worry type. I'm not the... I guess part of me doesn't want to know what's going on.
Critics would say you weren't curious because you already knew. He didn't have to get up and go check because he knew exactly what had happened.
I was scared, I think. I mean, I didn't know if there's some bad guy downstairs my dad was chasing off with a gun, or, you know, I had no idea.
Were you concerned leaving him alone in the room?
Well...
Knowing that his sister had been taken.
Yeah. We knew where he was. He was safe. And at that point, that's what we wanted to be sure of. We were so focused on JonBenet being gone, I guess.
So 2 hours later, the detective comes.
Linda Arndt.
Okay. And was she helpful?
Yeah, I mean, she was trying to sort things out, and I remember she sat me down and said, you know, when you talk to this person they call, you've got to insist you hear JonBenet's voice. So I was, you know, as ready as I could be for that call. And of course, 10 o'clock came and went.
So at the time, you felt like she was being helpful. You had no idea that she considered you...
Oh, no.
...to be the culprit.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Linda Arndt, the lead detective that was there, went on national television a few months ago and said, I didn't act right, I was too calm, cordial.
Did it surprise you to hear that that was her reaction?
I don't remember being cordial. She was there to help me. I was grateful for her being there. So she interpreted that as being cordial. So be it. She had never been in a situation like that as a police officer, I learned later. In retrospect, we called the police. We thought they knew what they were doing, and they didn't have a clue. I called the police to help me and to find my child. Never, ever crossed my mind that she was suspicious of my demeanor. And some of the observations made that I read about later were nonsense. John casually looked through the mail. I was looking for another communication from the kidnapper. The police should have done that. But they observed me doing it, and so John was so cold and callous that he was going through the mail looking at his bills. Well, that's nonsense.
So who came and got you eventually?
I think it was my dad that came in.
You do go downstairs. Describe that scene for me.
Coming up.
Were you scared for JonBenet yet?
I think I was trying to be positive.
You remember them asking you if you knew what happened to your sister?
I told the guy, I was like, you know, she's probably hiding somewhere.
Wednesday on an all-new Dr. Phil. She's 13, out of control.
Stop it. Oh, who are you?
And something shocking happened during filming.
Danielle vanished with the keys to my crew member's car.
That's Wednesday.
Closed captioning provided by...
There's only one egg that gives you better taste and better nutrition in so many varieties. Classic, cage-free, and organic. Only Eggland's best.
Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with Burke Ramsey continues.
You eventually do go downstairs. Describe that scene for me.
I just remember, like, I have an image in my head of the kitchen, and it was really early morning, and there were a few people around that I didn't really know. There might have been a police car, I think. I just remember kind of walking slowly downstairs, and everybody just being like, hey, we're going to take you to Fleet.
Somebody eventually told you JonBenet's been kidnapped, right?
They
Somebody
didn't say kidnapped. They said she's missing.
Missing.
Yeah.
And who told you that?
I remember a detective or something coming in and interviewing me. He told me...
Were you scared for JonBenet yet?
I think I was trying to be positive.
Do you remember them asking you if you knew what happened to your sister?
I told the guy, I was like, you know, she's probably hiding somewhere. Did you check the whole house? Or maybe she's outside, or...
Who suggested for you to search the house?
Linda Arndt. She said, take Fleet White with you and search the house, see if you notice anything out of the ordinary.
He should not have been allowed to search that house by himself. He could have tampered with evidence without even knowing that it was evidence. That's a critical mistake.
So where did you begin?
Went down to the basement.
Why start there?
It's the most logical entry point. Went into the, we called it the train room. The kids had a train set up in this. There was a window open. There was a suitcase sitting under the window, which shouldn't have been there. And I noted that and mentioned it to Fleet. I said, that shouldn't be there.
You knew there was a broken window downstairs, right?
Well, I had broken that glass and then opened the window to get in previous summer because I'd left my key and Patsy was gone. I thought we had it fixed, but we never went in the basement, so I didn't know that. So I wasn't surprised that the glass was broken, but I was surprised that the window was open.
So you come to this door and it's closed. And what's in that door?
Well, we called it the wine cellar, but there's never any wine in it. It was a junk room. I was just going through methodically every square inch of that basement. And I opened the door, and there's JonBenet.
Coming up.
Did you know she was dead?
There was a red spot on her throat, and I just was hoping she'd wake up. I picked her up, carried her upstairs.
You shot my son.
This is her son's blood.
You left Stefan in a ditch, riddled with bullet holes.
I did not kill Stefan.
We're identical twins. We're both anorexic and bulimic.
You get out here and you say, we want money for all of this. I told the producers to send you home. I can't help your girls if you get in the way. The best gift you can give your daughters
is get them the hell out of her house.
You're encouraging your kids to run away?
No, you guys didn't play the evidence. That's bull.
Put the damn thing up. I'm calling bull on your bull.
My daughter is out of control. 13 years old, extremely provocative.
Danielle vanished with the keys to my crew member's car.
She had a knife. Would you want me to stab you? You're such a actress.
Hey, watch your mouth. She's 74 years old.
I don't care if she was 90.
I use heroin every couple hours. I would rather feed my drug habit than my unborn child.
She's my sister. How could you do this to a baby?
It gets worse.
Right now, she is really high. She's gonna be...
Stop the tape. You're either gonna watch this and get in the game, or you're out.
Plus, he went from all-American athlete...
I've been living on the street.
...to homeless wannabe rapper.
He's into rap now?
I'm here to tell a story and inspire. That is it. I'm on the wire.
He's a rapper?
Missing for 6 years.
Kyron's stepmother was the last known person to see the second grader.
I believe that Terry Horman knows where Kyron is.
Now,
you lied to the media.
Yes, because I was told to.
The exclusive interview.
Tell me why it's taken this long for you to speak out about this. I've been doing this for 15 years. You get to thinking you've seen and heard everything until now.
We now return to a Dr. Phil exclusive.
Take me through the moment that your eyes fell on JonBenet's face as she was lying there on the floor. Did you know she was dead?
No, not at that point. I mean, I had this rush of, thank God I found her. And it was just this overwhelming sense of joy that I'd found my child. And her hands were tied over her head. She had tape on her mouth. I immediately took the tape off. Her eyes were closed.
Could you, at that point, perceive her injuries at the time? Could you see her neck and her head?
No, I didn't. There was a red spot on her throat. I didn't see the garrote because it was too deeply embedded in her skin. And I just was hoping she'd wake up and began to realize that she wasn't going to, and just started to scream. I picked her up, carried her upstairs. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was just horrified. I couldn't speak. I was just screaming, and I took her upstairs and laid her down. I guess I was taking her to help in my mind. I didn't perhaps want to accept that she was dead. Linda Arndt knelt down beside her as I was and felt for her pulse and looked me in the eye and said, "She's dead." And that's when I was just stunned. She looked very peaceful.
One of our friends ran into the room and said, "We need an ambulance." Tried to dial 911, and I kept screaming, "What is it? What is it?" And, you know, then in just a couple minutes, then I walked into the living room.
What Linda Arndt said is that your eyes met, and she knew in that moment you killed your daughter.
Linda Arndt has stated publicly that when she saw John with JonBenet, it was like 1,000 lights going off in her mind. She knew exactly who had killed JonBenet.
At one point, she said she was so worried that she was in the presence of a bad person that she was counting the bullets that she had on her body, and that she had 18 bullets because she feared she might have to shoot her way out of there.
Frightening and incompetent, beyond incompetent. Shouldn't have been a police officer.
There's a detective, Linda Arndt, who deals with various emotional cases, not a homicide detective, not a kidnapping detective, because the Boulder Police Department didn't have those experts.
Is your interpretation that she thought she was going to have to shoot everybody? That
Yeah.
she was all in on
I think her comment was, I looked around and counted and then counted the bullets in my gun. I mean, this is crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy stuff.
When was the next time you saw your parents?
The next thing I remember is going to another one of our friends' houses. Everyone was really sad over there. My dad came and told me, "JonBenet's in heaven now," and then he started crying. And then I started crying.
And I saw him was sad. And my dad told me that JonBenet in heaven.
So you go from thinking she's missing to she's been found, she's actually dead, she's in heaven. Your dad tells you.
My dad just said she's in heaven now, and I was kind of like, how is that possible? Like,
and what did you say?
I started crying. I don't think I said anything. I didn't believe it at first.
You must have realized this has gone way bad. Ready to get real? Go to drphil.com for advice on relationships, parenting, finances, and more. Plus, weigh in on your favorite episodes, share your stories, and find support in the Dr. Phil community. When you sign up for the community, you will automatically be subscribed to the Dr. Phil Show newsletter. Log on to drphil.com today.
Are Patsy Ramsey's writings getting red flagged by Boulder cops?
3 days after she gave police a fourth handwriting sample, the mother of JonBenet Ramsey is being asked for a fifth sample.
The ransom note was a big monkey wrench in this case, and it threw everybody off. The police thought Patsy wrote it.
Your mother found a ransom note. Have you read it?
I don't think I've read the whole thing. I've definitely seen pictures of it, though.
I think law enforcement found it odd that there would be a ransom note at a murder scene. Some police have been suspect that your mother actually wrote this. Does that look like her handwriting? Tomorrow, Burke finally addresses the strange and unexplained evidence that has led people to speculate that he murdered his sister. Take a look.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil.
What's your name? Are you Patsy Ramsey? I'm the mother. Oh my God!
There's a lot of debate about where you were when that 911 call was made.
What took place on that tape has led to some of the conspiracy theories.
Police investigators say your voice was heard saying, "What did you find?" Did you speak those words?
Autopsy results did find undigested pineapple in JonBenet's stomach.
Did you and she eat pineapple together at any time during the day?
Maybe.
The lead investigator says one of the reasons that he believes that you are the culprit here is that on the day of your sister's murder, you never asked about her welfare.
Plus, the never-before-seen interrogation tapes of Burke Ramsey.
This was 13 days after JonBenet's murder. Nobody in the world has seen this before.
What do you think happened to your sister? I think someone took her very quietly.
That's tomorrow.
You do not want to miss it. And the investigation into JonBenet's death brought massive media coverage, and with that came wild speculation. Did Patsy Ramsey write the ransom note? If so, who was she covering up for? Herself or the person left on Earth she would do anything to protect? Her son, Burke. I want to thank CBS 48 Hours for the use of their archival footage on this case. From Boulder, Colorado, thanks for watching.